Okay. 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 My name is Jim Wise. I'll be chairing this as the vice chair. Andy is not here today, and Mike is not here today too. So, but we do have a quorum. One of the first things I would like to do is items 16 and 17. I would like to just do a little bit of discussion of that. So I wanted to move that up in the minutes or up in the agenda on that. If that's okay with everyone. Where right at the beginning, I'll discuss that. I have a conflict here with the quorum. I will not be able to attend this part of the meeting. So we will not have a quorum for the Tri-County on that. Mike Ellers will not also not be there, but you have an alternate too. So
what do we do then? Can we go to it?
I think you can just go to it. Just
Nothing can be said or talked about.
discuss.
Whatever, so,
Yeah.
I mean, if you wanna go look at it, that's one thing, but,
Mhm.
why don't we just pull it till the next meeting, and go to it, and hopefully everybody can be there at that time.
Okay, I will have to, I'll let Kevin Grader know,
Okay.
So,
You might want to let them know.
right now,
Okay, thank you. So this will be pulled until the next meeting. Okay. Is everybody okay with that?
What about the people up there? Do they know about that?
Paul's doing it right now as we speak, yeah.
And that's
Okay, I'm sorry about that. Okay, all right, let's start this then. The minutes, you've all received a copy of the minutes. And if you'd like to have an approval of. Anybody want to have approval?
so.
Second?
I was not here, so
Oh,
you'll have a
okay,
second.
I will second it then. All those in favor say aye, that's you and I. Aye, aye. Opposed, same sign, thank you. So that has been approved. Correspondence shared by committee members. Anything, either of you?
what I can tell you is, I have a conflict, and I will be turning the meeting over to, my assistant here, Paul Rothy,
Oh,
and he should be able to address anything that you've got, questions with our projects or the items on the agenda.
okay.
Now we could really dig into it.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, that hearing none. We go into public input on agenda items. 3 people. So,
Steve Bender, District 13. The highway department didn't meet this month, so they weren't able to discuss that about the cafeteria and naming that after John Schneider. Hopefully they will meet next month, and I will be there to bring that up at the public comment, and it's on their agenda for discussion and action, I believe. So hopefully we can get that passed next month. If you can leave it on one more month, hopefully we can take care of that next month and get it to the county board in February.
okay. And where is that in here?
That is number 7.
Number 7. Okay. Oh, I see, okay. Okay. Okay, yes.
I'm Pam Massey. I'm the campus administrator for the UWO Fox Cities campus.
And I'm Scott Schaefer. I'm the interim director over at the Weiser Science Museum.
And we're just here to present a concept that we have for a rock garden for on the Fox Cities campus area, some of the space that we have. And Scott's got the presentation, just wants to give you a little bit of background, a little bit of what we're looking for, and then try and get some feedback back.
Yeah. So we are in a sort of a preliminary design phase for this concept. We know it would take a little while to get all the things planned out and make sure that we identify anything such as permitting or donation aspects that we have for construction for this. So what we're looking at doing is installing some series of paved walkways on part of the lawn that's east of campus. It'd be just north of the Children's Center. It is a large open area that would give us the ability to sort of place large boulders that are of interest to geologic history in the state of Wisconsin, essentially giving us an outdoor exhibit space. We do realize that the space there has some electric lines that have been run to it, which might come in handy for security issues. For example, if the walkways need to be lighted or anything. We'd like the concrete to be poured in to meet with ADA compliance. But the area is kind of ideal in that it's, you know, adjacent to our campus. There are restrooms that are there that are available, but Seeing as how we're still in the design phase, we wanted to approach this very early with an intent of possibly starting construction on this in 2025 or either spring, summer, fall. That would kind of depend on what we find out from here regarding things like permitting. If we do get cleared out and find out that we have the capacity to install this, giving us a reasonable timetable to do a build and identifying the problems early. So if you'd like to flip through the image here, we're intending this to just be a multi-use education space. We're sort of still in the dreaming phase. So what do we know we can install? The sidewalk and the rocks are most pertinent to our mission. But if we could do something like a small shelter, meaning just a covered space that could have picnic tables or something underneath, then it allows the space to be utilized rain or shine. But again, since we are still in the design phase, we're essentially just asking any assistance in identifying things such as permitting that we may not be aware of, any hindrances that could come to this project before we want to start advertising to the public or donations and funds and things like that. So what you see here is just sort of a concept layout. You can see a little shelter off to the left there, which is a little farther to the east. And these are just basic designs. There are plenty of different designs that could be done, something that's a bit more simplistic. If you flip the page underneath are some examples of boulders that are placed kind of in a manner around concrete that we would be somewhat emulating. These are at the Kenosha Public Museum. And it gives you an idea of what it would sort of look like having the boulders placed next to the concrete in a manner we would do. Other things we're looking for, if we don't have large enough boulders for the specific types of rocks we're looking for, which there are many because our state is very geologically interesting. Some things may only be able to be acquired in smaller pieces, so that may have us, for a design idea, have sort of a low concrete wall with the rocks studded in it, and then the signage to accompany it. That way we can have smaller specimens without them at risk of walking off. Our funding for, we're looking to do it entirely internally. We do have a preliminary donation that somebody had given us at our 20th anniversary event of $10,000. And that can go a very long way, especially if we can get things like either scouts, other community partners. We have ties with a lot of people in the public who have heard about this or came to us about a concept like this, and they're looking to help and contribute. So I think we have good community support. Our visitors who have heard about it or asked about it seem interested. And I think it's something that would be feasible to do. We know this would be a multi-phase build. The first thing we're looking for is it permissible, or are we able to do an installation of the sidewalk and place the boulders and signage? The second phase then, and this would be possibly 2026, looking at funding a concrete slab perhaps, or a gravel patch, depending on some recommendations from the committee here, to erect a small shelter as well. We've identified, or at least came up with some things in planning, and that's on the final page. I'm not going to read the entire thing there, but it is there for you to see sort of what we planned, who we found, what things could potentially be done. Shelter seems feasible. I do have images of a small sort of band shell type building that was built by a scout in the community where I live down in Franklin, Wisconsin. But I think the shelter would be one of the ones that would best serve our needs. We realized it would take a while to learn what the county's sort of approval process is and schedule. So any of those details that could be kind of provided or clarified from your end, that would be fantastic. But things we do know that came up with our meeting with Allegheny County yesterday, and we saw it beforehand, is, well, if we are installing concrete, then who's going to maintain it? Things like plowing and clearing it for summer. We've discussed with some personnel on our facilities on campus, and it would be small enough. I think it'd be easy for us and our, people at our campus to maintain. For safety wise, it came up that potentially it could be declared a park in the area if there's a feasibility to do that, and that kind of helps with any sort of liability for injury, which I think was a good suggestion. And if there is any sort of long-term maintenance, would we be able to establish some sort of fund maybe to generate a little bit of revenue? So in the future, should upkeep need to be done for level pavements or things like that, that we should take that into consideration. But I'd like to open the floor to any recommendations, suggestions, or questions from anybody here on the committee, because we're gathering information.
Thank you, Scott. we can't take questions right now, but we will have this on the agenda. To know what number it is
Well,
on the agenda. And we'll discuss it at that point.
It's right now.
Hmm.
It's right
I-
now.
We can't take it on, can we?
Yeah, it's right.
We've got discussion and action on it.
Oh, okay, that's the first thing. Oh, it is, yes, okay. All right, we can move right in. Sure, thank you.
So, anyway,
Good, go ahead.
we were presented this up at UW a couple of months ago, and I guess just trying to refresh my memory. What was the primary drive and motivation behind designing and proceeding with this to start with?
There were kind of two things. When the museum was initially built, the funds that were dedicated for the build, one design that was not actually carried out, but was kind of the vision of Joan Klusendorf, the original director, was to have a rock garden. So that's sort of the primary thing, is sort of meeting one of the things that was intended for the museum that has had support or questions from people who are on the Friends Group board since the museum was sort of designed. Secondly, we do have quite limited space for storage, and we do have some specimens at the museum already that are being kind of kept in a cold storage outdoors, very large, and this would be a good way to introduce them to the public.
Okay. The museum that you have up there, it's for geology, is that it?
Correct, it's the Weiss Earth Science Museum focused on Wisconsin's geologic history.
I see, I didn't know it's focused on geology.
No worries, we get a lot of people tell us they didn't even know we were there.
Yeah, so I guess, okay, so that, I mean, that explains this. I mean, if you have a science wing that's focused on geology, you know, that explains it to me a little better, why you want to proceed with something like this. Your shelter, that's phase 2, you said?
Yeah, and that's one of the ideas that we had that could sort of make this space a little more utilitarian. It's what we
Right.
do during when the weather
You
that
might
would,
need to get municipal approval for something like that, right?
correct, that's why we're checking with everybody here, just to see if there's anything we're not aware of.
I don't know about the sidewalks. Would you need the sidewalk, municipal approval for sidewalk installation?
Not sure when Ashland calls out, I know the city of Ashland does require it, I would assume an action as well. Mainly probably for the AD requirements, so.
Right. The $10,000, was that specifically donated for this project?
That's what it was intended for from the person who did it, and that was Ms. Ruth Van Sakani.
I have a question. I heard you say park. Park is a broad thing, and we end up having a lot of park, and who's responsible for it once it becomes a park
Correct.
in Winnebago County. And so are you thinking of the UW is gonna be in charge of the park, or is it going to continue on to the counties to be in charge of the park?
That is one of the things that is a question we were now, hence the reason we're bringing it up here. It has been suggested to us at the Outagamie County meeting yesterday that if we did try to find a way to designate it as a park, the concern that they had recommending that is a liability if somebody were to get injured then. I think it's definitely something that we should look into. So if there's a way to mitigate something along the lines of that works within the framework in the municipality here, how they would either title it or how it's drawn up, that's kind of the intent of that they suggested to us.
You know, we've got one place here that's become a park. And the question is, who takes care of it from now on, and it gets brought up and brought up and brought up. And we do have one of the park members here now. I don't know if they would want to run clear up there and take care of another so-called park or not, so. Mr. Chairman, if I could just ask Supervisor Bender, being he's on parks, what he would think about another park and who would end up taking care of it.
Okay, that's appropriate that you do that.
I would think that it would have to be UW taking care of it. We don't even cut our own boat landings. The entries into county park, we basically bid that out last year. The roundabouts we bid out. We don't have enough staff to do what we have. But I would think UW cuts all the grass up there.
They do.
So I don't think it would be much for the UW to cut that part, you know, so I would think it would just be part of their general maintenance, and we should have, as a county, have nothing to do with it. They want it, they're gonna fundraise for it, it should be 100% responsibility of the university.
I don't think you're looking at a lot of maintenance on something like this, really. I mean, except if you have a building, obviously there's more, but I mean, for sidewalks and,
Right,
you know, they're already maintaining the grass, so.
Grass, but then who's gonna make sure the snow is plowed here for the walkway?
Oh, that's a concern, right? So you get, but UW,
they all do all the snow up there right now. I mean, we contract out the parking lots. They do, I believe, the sidewalks. They have like a toolcat with a small plow on it, and I think they do the stuff close to the building. So it would be, my recommendation is that they're responsible for 100% of the maintenance and care of that park, if you want to call it that.
If there are things that are designated as parks that are maintained by other property owners, I could see that as being a fairly viable thing. We've discussed with facilities, have a rapport with them. I don't think that would be much of an issue, and the way we can even design it makes it sort of simplistic for mowing around. I don't think would pose much of an issue. Structure wise, if we do end up building the shelter, it would be something that is more or less simply the struts with a roof over it. It could be a concrete slab underneath it, depending on what we identify for fundraising. I'm not sure if we want to go with something like just a gravel underneath and picnic tables for concern with rocks scattering into the lawn for mowing. But the first portion of this would be the installation of the sidewalks, boulders, and sort of signage.
Last thing is if they need more boulders or whatever, come on out, we got some out there. So, if they need more boulders, come on out, we got some.
they're probably don't
Really?
our kind of boulders, if it's a geological display.
You may be surprised. I may be willing to take you up on that. We're looking for quite a few things, and I've designed it in a manner that if we do find or identify other boulders, it would simply be like adding on another little offshoot to that sidewalk. So it is sort of can be built almost in a modular fashion, which is really nice.
Yes.
We'll take your boulders. Clear out some space.
I have, this got a sidebar on this thing. I am on another beautification committee at our condos, and we're doing something exactly like this. And I'd like to pick your brain on it, so if you could leave your card before you leave.
Sure.
I'd like to get back with you on it. So
I'd be happy to.
we're doing we have one boulder that is probably like the size of right there. That was left over by the Bridgewood, the guy who was the original developer of the golf course. And it's just sitting there ready to be gobbled up by apartments, and I was able to negotiate, we'll take it. So we have one boulder so far, red granite, but we're gonna do the same thing. But I like the picture, right? If you leave a card, I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, any other discussions on that? Okay, let's move on.
So, along with this, I think that our, department here should go ahead and Mike Elder and the other counties should sit down and actually talk with them and, they should decide on what's actually gotta be done, permits and all this and that to make sure it falls into place. So that would be my recommendation.
So this is a presentation stage, not an approval.
Right.
You're not asking for an approval.
Correct. We're trying to identify just any things before we draft something that's much more formal and finalized, identify any sort of stumbling blocks early beforehand and get your record.
Okay, very good. So, number 5 is concerning the Tri-County Ice Arena. If you looked at the minutes from last month, it's pretty extensive on that. It was item number 5 on the minutes on that from the Tri-County. And I think they're pretty extensive there. So are there any questions on that? But they were doing.
How much time is left on that lease again? Do we know?
Yeah, I do. It's 15 years commencing July 2014, terminating June 30th of 2029. So 7 more years, 6 more years.
And the major issue here is whether or not, right, for the tenant is maintaining the property.
That's the big thing. I think ADA's, they seem to think that it's ADA compliant. We're questioning that, whether it was ADA compliant and making sure that they're also doing everything that says on the list, on the terms of the lease agreement.
And is there an interest by the YMCA in the facility? Did that mention? I thought that was
I think it was, I recall it was mentioned,
Brian
but,
Everett sort of.
yeah, I think
alluded
Brian
to
may
that.
have done, you know,
So,
but I don't think that they're looking for that.
who's not looking for that?
Tri-County, the folks at the ice arena,
They would want to, so their intent, they would want
They
to
would want-
release this facility.
they want, yes.
Well, it's a little bit,
yes.
more
Mhm.
distant into the future to be actually,
Yes,
probably making that request, but so their intent would be to stay,
yes.
keep maintaining.
Well, that's what I gathered when they were here.
I can remember when this was discussed, we wanted to get out of this ice arena so bad,
Yeah,
and we didn't want it back. So when we go and look at it,
yeah,
I think they got it for $1, and
it's a
so.
dollar.
I don't know if we want the ice arena, or if we want to be in the ice arena business.
Right, so, but that, you know. Maybe it's just too premature to even discuss this, but. There's a presumption that an interested party would want to make sure that as much maintenance is done as possible before a potential purchase. In the future, is that the motivation here by the parties that are contesting this maintenance issue? What do you think?
I don't know, they can.
Or are we just speculating? What?
They can sublease it to.
Yeah.
With our group.
Okay, well. Just trying to get to the. Why this is an issue at this point, I guess.
Can we go ahead and put, number 5 down with 16 and 17 for next month?
Yes,
And possible, after we see what's going on up there, make some decisions or whatever.
mhm. I do think we can, yes. Okay, any discussion? Okay, number 6, the Veterans Housing Authority. I was hoping Mike would be here to talk about that. Anybody?
Not have anything go on that, sorry.
Move on. Nothing to report.
Mike had nothing on this whatsoever.
I don't know.
It's on the agenda.
Yeah, he was the one who spoke so highly about it last time, and I thought, okay. So we can get here, see what was happening. Nothing had happened at that point a month ago, so.
I think we were talking about. You gather information on exactly what the needs are.
Yes,
And
that's
what
correct.
type of facility they need.
Yeah. So I don't think we have anything to report.
Right.
Okay, we're flying through this. Number 7, this is concerning the Highway Department conference room. And the cafeteria.
This year Supervisor Bender said the highway department did not meet last month. It was canceled, so, if you're waiting for the highway department to go ahead and go through, there was no meeting, so really nothing can be decided at this time.
Okay, thank you. We'll close this item. Number 8, county appraisal.
So. I know at the last. Board meeting, I had a quick discussion with Mary Ann about this, and then she was. Pretty busy, so I'm just assuming that you didn't receive any. Any resolution on this yet. She said she had to make an ordinance change along with this. So. That would be something they need to do, and my guess is that. They just didn't get to it at legal. In time for the meeting this month, so. Legal has the resolution, I got it to them in December.
Okay, but you can't talk about it yet. Do
No.
it becomes.
No. Right.
Okay. You're flying through this. Responsible bidders.
Mike and I talked briefly beforehand, there is no new news on this, no movement.
Nothing has changed since
No.
last time.
So is this in legal hands also? Is that why there's nothing to report on?
Potentially, yes.
Building assessments.
That one's just pretty much stayed at number 9, we're still working through it, with no new developments to report on.
On this here, I have a question. I would think that.
Yes.
Director Elder should be able to bring us up on some of this because they have all the information from all the buildings, at least
Mhm.
on where they should be able to start.
Yeah.
Or if they're gonna start with any, or if they're going to eliminate some, or what they're going to do. I think this has been dragged out. I know ARPA money has been spent on this and all that. They got the county appraisal policy back, or that back, the assessment and all that. The county executive has seen it. That's what they were, excuse was before. They wanted the county executive to see it. Now they've seen it. Not blaming you, but I don't know how much longer we're gonna have this drag out. And then another building's gonna need something, and here again, all of a sudden, we're gonna need a roof or something, and, well, yeah, it said that, we should have done that before.
Yes.
And here we are talking last time, quite a bit of debate up on the, airport,
Mhm.
out there, and in that, is that building gonna fall down? Is it, they're causing something out there where people are getting sick, or what? I know they said that's number one, so if that was number one, then why aren't we doing something about these buildings? You've got this, I just think that, we've got this assessment, it's paid for, and I just think that something's gotta start following up. Someplace along the line, it shouldn't just be sitting there now that we have it in our hands.
The intent of that going back to committee or moving on that issue, which was part of the, part of the this month's, in this year's capital improvements plan.
Right.
Pulling that out, take it back to committee for further discussion, not to remove it completely. That was never my intent by bringing that up. Just thought we needed additional discussion on that. Which options we would go forward with either reconstructing the building or building a new building, getting clear definition of what they want to do with that for the engineering study going forward, and then whether or not we can expect participation from the city of Oshkosh and the cost of that. And then with the fire truck, making sure that we've looked at all options, including a used vehicle versus a new vehicle to replace the one that we have, or rehab the existing vehicle. I don't think that was clear when they placed that in the capital improvements plan, what they were gonna do there. So, I think that was the motivation for pulling it out for further discussion.
I didn't mean to be picking
No,
on, but
I'm
they
just-
said that one of the number one things was that firehouse.
Yeah,
Well, so what are we gonna do with it?
I just
Are we
wanted to
gonna look at
describe
it?
what my motivation for pulling it out was. It was never the intent to just get rid of it. It was
Right.
just to make sure that it's well defined as to what we're gonna do there.
And I guess my thing is, we sit on these things so long, and if that's the number one building, why aren't they looking at it and getting done with it, and
Mhm.
negotiations going
Right.
on? Nothing against these guys, but something's gotta be done, instead of we always get there and then we sit on it. And I'm not, like I said, pointing at you, I'm just saying that was one of the things. that
Well, maybe in this case, isolating it, pulling it out of the capital plan might get quicker action on it. You take it back to committee, you get it well defined as to what you want to do, and you come back with a separate resolution for dealing with it.
Well, let's hope so. Let's hope it don't get upstairs and they say, no, we're not going to do it. That isn't the way it's gonna go.
From all I can understand, they do want to do it, So
So,
it was the executive that put it in the plan. We didn't really even know much about this, that it was gonna be in this year's capital plan.
I don't know if the director know.
Okay. Well,
Do we need to have a joint meeting with the aviation committee? And say, okay, we're going
Sure.
forward with something.
I don't know as if we actually do. I guess if they wanna ask us, but the aviation is the one that's in charge of bringing this back. From what I understand anyways, the Spirit or ARPA committee, whatever, and then they're supposed to go ahead and make a recommendation
Mhm.
from there.
that was the other issue, whether or not it was gonna be, bond funding or ARPA funding
Right.
that would be used for this, and the sort of I think the feeling in the room is that the ARPA funds might be more appropriate for it. At the board meeting level, I know.
Would that qualify?
And I know the county executive does not want that. Just so you know,
Why is that? I mean, we have.
he's
money
got
out
other
there.
projects for
That's a county project, but
his son, you know, so. We'll just have to wait and see what it comes out. With all that, whatever it's gonna get spent on, it's gotta come back before the county board.
do we have an order? um, Do they have a plan put forth for use of the use of the spirit fund money that's designated for public use yet? The county projects?
The county projects hasn't been even given to us yet.
But if they have other plans, that would presume that they have some sort of thing put together on this that we haven't seen yet. Is that true?
That's true,
Okay.
and I have not either.
Good.
We have to wait. Do we want to do something, ask Mike to interject himself into this somehow?
He's making notes, I'm sure Mike will be,
Okay,
but there again, you gotta realize. John is Mike's boss,
yes.
so we all.
Oh, yeah.
understand.
Mhm. You're writing it down? Paul?
Yep, I got it. I'll relay all this info to him to the email.
Okay, you'll give them this. All right, 980, I've been doing this thing for 980 for how many years now? I was in the initial for the 980, didn't like it then. Anyway.
Schedule update on.
Yeah,
that.
yes, please.
We're looking at late February, early March.
That hasn't
We're
changed.
turning it over. We're turning the heat up on because it's, as you can see, keeps getting pushed. So, that's where we're at right now. I was out there this morning looking at it. They're closed in. I believe the intent was to have everything decided this week, but with the setbacks they had on it last week with weather, it wasn't our option. So
Okay.
I reached out today to get a updated schedule of like a 3-week, or forecast of where we're gonna be at 3 weeks. So,
Is there a structure up yet?
yeah, there's 3 of them. They're closed in with roof, with OSB and tar paper, I guess we'll say.
Oh, okay, so they can be working inside
Yeah.
then?
Oh, yeah, they're framing up inside, putting in sharp and all that stuff, so.
You got you have roll target, you have the
Um,
underlayment?
yeah, the underlayment, yeah, I don't think it's rolled tar paper like I said, but it's an untouched underlayment.
What kind of underlayment is it?
I don't know.
You don't
off the top of my head.
So it's not the roll stuff, the 50 no roll,
No,
it's better than that?
yes. Yeah, it's not the Menard special, it's some little one step up.
Well,
I received a complaint about this, has really, don't even have to go to this year, but, one of the people that was in one of them trailers must have had an incident out there, and they had to have the ambulance and all that out there.
Ooh,
And supposedly, right when that big snowstorm come, they blocked the whole driveway, because then they had to have the fire engine. So here, the plows were trying to come in, they couldn't get in, they went around by the sheriff's department, they couldn't get in that way. So they ended up, I don't know if they plowed or who plowed, but plowed to go through another way and have to go around. And one of the people that told me about this said that them that are working on them could maybe plow, or somebody could plow around, they could park on the back instead of being out, because sometimes they're on one side of the street and the other side of the street, so.
Right, so, what I know for sure is coming from the trailer to the new parking lot. The contractor laid down a new wider gravel path for them, and we are gonna have our snow contractor. Take care of that for the duration of the project. Instead of having the state do it for an hour to keep it, make sure it stays clear and salt and all that for that particular reason. It's wider than the last one, we have it staked out so it can be maintained. Contractors can no longer, it shouldn't have been parking in the parking lot, I know they weren't there during the incident. But, we wanna get the caretakers and anyone else who needs to go into that trailer, be able to park in that parking lot. And as far as the snow clearing, we'll have to address with highways and make sure that's still, I mean, it's right by the highway department, it's still a main still gets maintained with the, civilians, so that, just for that reason, getting personnel in and out of there, or if anyone needs to leave for whatever reason.
Yeah, 'cause that's where they come in and get their gas or their salt or
Right,
whatever, and they have to
right.
get through there also.
How is the resident doing?
Pardon?
How is the resident doing?
I have no idea. I just heard from the snowplow drivers. I didn't hear about the resident, how he's doing. I would imagine he's back and
I
going.
believe he's in there now, but
Oh, he's back.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Okay, we've done that. Number 12, the boathouse project. Jeez. Anything new, Paul?
yeah, so, the roof has been starting to go on this week. Sides are on there, they're working on the roof. And I'm estimating that will probably leak February, the turnaround, they have the rolling overhead door, coiling overhead door. And they're working on getting that, situated for install. So it is,
Is the roof on there?
they're starting that yesterday, I believe.
I went by there, it wasn't on, everything else was, but I had a question about the siding that they used, that seemed, I've never seen that type of material before, I kind of was expecting the corrugated panels. And do you know, can you explain what type of siding that is? and how it works?
I had to look at this middle to see exactly as far as what the specs are.
Yeah, it's a sort of a smooth exterior,
Mm-hmm.
metal siding. And, I was just curious what that'll be like from a maintenance standpoint going forward and, you know. Will
Yeah, we
it be
can
easy,
take that.
hard or easy to maintain? Is
Right.
it, you know, subject to vandalism?
We can get that,
Yeah,
call it spec sheet or cut sheet.
I mean, it's an interesting material. I've never seen that kind of material on a wall surface in a metal building before.
Right, and I think when we did design it, we were looking for something that was pretty maintenance free, just because of.
Right.
And easy to wash off because of lake flies and comments.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that would work good for that,
Right,
I would think.
but we can,
And then I
Yeah,
saw
yeah.
something that said in the materials we got that, the door can't be put on except by use of a barge.
that's what I heard too.
So that wouldn't go on until spring then.
I don't know, that's some info I gotta get yet, because they do have smaller barges, they rack it real small in the full slip area. I don't know if they're looking at bringing that in by trailer, I have no idea.
Well, it's frozen. I mean, you can't really.
I don't know what their plan is, to be honest with you, but I heard that as well, and that's what I gotta get, how we're gonna coordinate that.
Okay.
Maybe they're waiting for the ice show.
So the boat is right here.
Oh, you can't use the whole in winter anyway, but just,
It's the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I was there, it sat and sat and sat and,
right.
so.
Okay.
Oh, one other thing I wanted to ask about is that we were talking about that. That is a C channel that they didn't want to pay for to be bolted in that would cover the deck boards on the exterior of the building all the way around the perimeter. And, what I noticed they had done is they put in metal flashing. It's like aluminum flashing with a lip that would deflect the water as it comes
Right.
down the side of the building.
Yeah.
Away from,
Mm-hmm.
away from the deck, at least some level of protection from the elements with that.
Right,
But that might be, somewhat difficult to keep from being dented up, going
Right.
forward.
yeah, that's just like
It's aluminum.
and yeah, exactly, like on a pole barn too, it's, your trim at the bottom. I don't know how close you can.
Right.
Equipment.
It's
Yeah,
not
I
that
think
wide though, so, it's not like it's gonna be
Right, I think it just needs to be.
Serious.
Gravel around it, so we don't have to worry about mowing around getting with equipment,
right.
but still, it's an area of concern.
Okay. Thanks.
13, director report on department operations. Paul, I'll leave that with you.
Well, we're in the new year, so we're working on our projects that have been budgeted for this year. And continue the stuff we had. I think the budget report you have, we only had like 5% of our budget being accounted for so far, so. I don't know if you guys wanna go through the project list, or if you have any questions you wanna, head my direction, I'll answer the best I can.
Yeah, I do. The evidence garage, last month it was the garage, bids came in high.
I believe the extra or additional funds were approved and we awarded, and I actually had sent Myron contracts yesterday. I have to resend them again because I made a mistake, but, they already are working. They gave us some brick samples.
I don't know, did we approve that?
I believe it was in the, was there one last night?
Oh, Steve says yes.
What was that?
It was in the capital improvement budget that we approved on.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, we do have contracts out for them to get the PO, and I believe they're already working on, they already dropped us some color samples for brick and, going in sample slabs, so that way when we have PO issue, they can get on order and stuff right away. And then we'll have a pre-construction meeting on that as soon as the PO is issued, and we'll be with Myron, the architect, and us, and then we'll lay out the schedule and take it from there.
Okay.
How
Also,
long, how long do you expect that to take to get?
That's an excellent question. I would have to, I don't really want to guess on that. I punted towards Myron's way to see what they're gonna look at for their schedule. There could be long lead times, like it seems to be the norm these days on doors, overhead doors, so. If I were to guess, which I'm not keen on putting out there, maybe I think it's, if we started today, would go well into fall, at least.
also, we talked about snow removal.
Mhm.
You gonna tell me it's not gonna snow anymore?
I heard that this is the last one, I was I don't, what's the question on solar removal?
Yeah, the question was, I think about, he was talking about that, who's going to be doing it. I think he was, talking like next year is going to be different
Yes,
on that, so.
to our knowledge right now, we have it contracted out for the rest of the season with a local contractor. But then, and that's just for sidewalks around Parkview jail, every county building. But going into the 2024 to 2025 winter season, right now, we're looking at bringing that back in-house since we're back to better staffing levels that we can address it better. I think right now we only actually have 2 openings in our department versus like 8 or 10. So it's just a carpenter and a facilities assistant right now, so, earlier in the year, we had more openings, so we couldn't guarantee we'd have enough people to split up our crews into, for on-call rotation on weekends. So instead of risking it, we stuck with having them do sidewalks, or contracting out doing sidewalks. Highway department still, right now, this year, they're doing, parking lots works like they always have.
Yes.
But you have a retiree coming up to your service school? I thought I read that someplace. Yes.
We do. Oh, yeah, it's fun.
Just,
So we have a retiree.
just before we begin it, the plowing in 24-25 with the UW plowing be done by us too then?
No, I believe the university has, they contract their own plowing.
That will continue to be
Yes.
contracted out? Okay.
So, yes.
And yes, we do have a retiree, sorry for how about Vicky, she's our grounds person too,
Hey,
but
how could you forget about her?
she's been off for many weeks now with her paid time off, so, yeah, that'll be, we'll have 3 openings, so. If we don't get the other 2 filled.
Okay. Any questions about the, maintenance projects or budget? No, hearing none. We'll close this. Thank you, Paul. Suggestions for next month's meeting agenda.
The ice arena.
Rock garden. Possibly. I have everything from 4 to 13.
Yes, my question is, what will we be talking more about the rock garden? Are they gonna bring us in anything more in, or?
I mean, I'll ask that question.
We'd end up being probably a couple months out until we have some more of the design sort of cemented and everything. We have to bounce it off other people who had interest in this. Don Mikulik, who is Joanne, who's Joel's widow, He's kind of our curator emeritus and a few other people. there, but
I suggest we do that.
Hmm?
Not this one. but
Right.
Yeah, whole.
So is there a way that we could get on or get
I'm sorry.
notified about the March meeting, if we could get on that month's agenda?
I think we
For
can.
March.
If we can find it, yeah.
I think so. And I don't know how it usually works, but the emails you see out.
Then just keep
Yeah.
checking with Mike.
There's no sense in discussing it if you're not here.
Right,
So,
okay.
You are not having us, let us make assumptions here. Okay. Okay, so I have 5 through 13. Next month.
5 through 13, what about 16 and 17?
Yeah, good point. Yeah, we should, yeah. Correct, yeah. Well, the 5 is taking that up.
So if you're gonna go up there and tour it, are you gonna make your decision after you tour it? Otherwise, there's no sense talking about it and possible action.
What decision?
Well, up here it was, discussion of possible action of Tri-County Ice Arena.
Or what's the action?
Well, I don't know. You
Uh,
guys wanted to
After
go
the
visit,
tour, you might have questions, so.
you wanted to go visit it, you must have had some reason.
Well, it wasn't me, I didn't,
Well, no, I'm
I
just
mean, I'm
saying, I
happy to
wasn't
go.
here, so,
yeah.
but if you're gonna make action.
Well, they were,
go See it
I
first.
guess the reason that the decision was made to go look at it was you had members of the public that showed up and pointing issues out that need maintenance, that are maintenance issues that need to be addressed, and that how can we understand what they're talking about unless we go up there and take a walk there and see what they are?
Well, I agree, but you can't make any action on number 5 until you go ahead and look at it.
Yeah,
So,
Can we look at it individually, though?
pardon?
Can we look at it individually, then have
You can, or
discussion?
you can go ahead and the group can go up there ahead of time,
Mhm.
have a special meeting,
Oh,
go up
special
there and do
meeting
the
for
whole
that.
thing and the discussion back at this meeting.
well, that might be a better way to do it. You know, have a special meeting, do it that way, and then. Of course, the journey and going was fine too.
I can't, I can attend, so you don't have a quorum.
I'm sorry.
I cannot attend.
Now, this is pulled off with this one, it happened to be.
No, but I mean-
Special meeting, yes,
Yeah,
special meeting I can't attend. More than likely.
what do you think? Would you rather do a special meeting or do it after a meeting like this? This was fine to me. I mean, I was all prepared.
I was all prepared, but the number 5, you don't need on it, because you can't make any action
Right.
on it until after you see it.
Right, okay, so 5 we should strike, and then we should just do 16, 17 next time.
Then you make the decision if that's when you want to, or
Yeah.
put them close by and make the decision.
Let's
then
let
up there.
Andy, I'm gonna bring,
Mhm.
I'm gonna bring Andy in on that
Okay.
to see what he wants to do.
Because if everyone could make it to one, we should all go up together.
Yes,
You could
No.
just, you could decide up there if there was a decision to be made, as long as somebody had their phone active and it was broadcast to the public.
It has to be noticing that you're gonna have discussion and possible action then on it then.
Yeah, so I guess you need to talk to him about what he wants to do on that.
okay, so we're up to 6 through 13. Any objections on that?
And maybe 5, right?
Possibly 5, yes. Okay, hearing none.
Next meeting?
Next meeting, I have down February 28th, of which I will not be here, but
Unless you have a special one, so.
unless we have a special. one. I think I'm looking for a special. Yes, I will do. Okay. All right. We're skipping 16 and 17.
I'll make a motion for adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's not the way they were here last month, or whatever objections were